Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. We're going to do a Q&A video because you guys have been asking for one. So I posted this on Instagram and said the first 10 to 15 people to ask a question will get their question answered via video response. Now I just came back and checked my iPad, which I have this nice Redskins cover on, being Super Bowl weekend, and this is probably as close as the Redskins will get to a Super Bowl in the next several years. I came back to about 90 questions, so I'm going to try to run through these very quickly. However, that being the case, I'm not going to link the questions in the description box below. So if you asked a question, hopefully you asked one near the beginning of when I put this picture up. So the first question says, the best tip for cutting besides diet advice? Well, that's really interesting only because diet and cutting go hand in hand. My advice would be patient and be consistent, and don't get frustrated as it takes a long time, especially as you get towards lower levels of body fat. The next question, does Max lift? So this is, of course, referring to my good friend Max Tuning, Deadlift Bra, who actually calls himself that. I think he gave himself his own nickname. Does he even lift? And I'm actually kind of mad that you asked this because me and Max are very good friends. And in fact, he has a very impressive physique. I know some 12-year-olds that are, in fact, very jealous and in awe of that Deadlift Bra. So yes, he does lift. So next question, what is your opinion on creatine as opposed to Isatori's product called BioGrow? And with this question as well, it's a little tough to answer because there are two different categories where creatine is a category in itself. BioGrow, to my knowledge, which I'm not overly familiar with, is more of a protein product. If you want more information on BioGrow, I think you can ask Mark Lobliner, as he seems to talk about it quite a lot. Next question, cake or pie, and why? Now, I saw this earlier, and this one was really a head scratcher. This is like asking a parent which of their children are their favorite. It's a very tough decision. But if I was really hard pressed to choose one, I'd choose cake, just because I feel like there's more varieties of cake than there is of pie. Although feel free to leave your pie choices in the comment section below if you feel I'm wrong. Next question, what's your opinion on belt versus beltless deadlift training? I think both hold their place. I've been trying to get away from the belt unless I'm working with very maximal loads. So in my cases, like with squats and with deadlifts, I don't think I put on my belt until I hit at least around 405 in most cases, unless I'm doing a ton of reps, so if I'm really overexerting myself. But I think it's important to train without a belt sometimes too and really get that natural strength. Next question, how do you break through a squat plateau? Personally, with some of these big lifts, I feel like doing them more is better. Now for squat training, I know a lot of people don't like to do squats, but doing them is the best way to get better. If you're still having trouble with frequency, you can work on stuff like paused squats. That's really helped me a lot, as well as just look at the volume, as well as the frequency in which you're training them. Next question, what is your goals you're going for bench, squat, and dead, short and long term? So I actually just talked about this in a video for my resolutions for this year. Short-term goals would be just to improve upon my last meet. So my last meet numbers were 305 bench, 510 squat, and 575 deadlift. So anything better than that is my short-term goal, which I think should be attainable. In fact, in my powerlifting meet coming up this weekend, all of my openers are in fact higher than those numbers, so I should be fine with that. Long-term goals for this year, I want to hit a 350 bench, a 550 squat, and a 650 deadlift, and those numbers might be attainable pretty soon if I do everything right. Next question, where do babies come from? Well, your penis. They come from your penis. And then they go into a vagina. And then there's some magic that happens, but the short answer is your penis. Maybe it should be the long answer. I don't know. Next question, do you prefer booty or boobs? Again, with these questions where you give me a choice on one or the other, it's really hard. And in this case, since hopefully if you're getting one, you're getting something of the other, I think they kind of offset a little bit, unless you're dating some kind of paraplegic that doesn't have one or the other, in which cases, good for you. Next question, best tip for improving standing overhead press. I'm probably not the best person to ask at this as my overhead press sucks. However, if you check out Matt Ogus, he has some very impressive lifts for his size and stature. What do you recommend for stopping or reducing butt wink? I think working on mobility is huge, but also understanding body mechanics is good also, because depending on how you squat and depending on how low you're going, it might be unavoidable to some point. Next question, flight or invisibility? Superpowers, I would probably go with flight, just because I think that's more badass. Invisibility, I could probably be somewhat quiet and be invisible in a room anyway. Forever alone. Next question, why no more tip videos? Just been all about BBSM lately. Well, I have been doing tip videos, but I think because I've been doing so many workout videos, it doesn't seem like I'm doing them as frequently. Part of that is also a larger picture of what I'm trying to do. There's so many people out there that put together such great videos and have such a great wealth of information. I feel like some of the topics I just can't do it justice, or I've already covered them, seeing that I've done close to 400 videos on YouTube on this channel, not to mention a couple hundred on my old channel. Next question, how often should I change my training routine? Ideally, if you get on a good training routine, you probably should almost never change it. Now, obviously, if you're going from beginner to more advanced and as your body adapts, those are some things to consider, but in its root, your training program should really be in line with your goals, and that should be somewhat similar throughout your training career, in my opinion. Next question, animal pills any good? I don't really overly rely on any supplement, especially when it comes to pill forms. I usually prefer powders if it really comes down to it. But I wouldn't say that they're good or bad. I haven't looked at them specifically anytime lately. Why are so many people scared of eating carbs anymore? All I ever see is carb cycle or low carb. That's interesting only because I don't think this is really the case as much as it was a couple years ago. There's still some carbophobes out there, but I think the whole if it fits your macros has really helped kind of bring some better awareness out. But people are afraid of carbs just because they don't understand how things work. Next question, tips for squat form. My shoulders feel uncomfortable and I lean forward instead of going ass to grass. I could do low front squats, but not back squats. Work on your mobility. Shoulders, obviously, got to work on that chest. Look at that. Look at this shirt. Those striped angles make you look even extra wide. But that was a big issue for me when I first switched to low bar squats, as well as the fact that if you don't have good flexibility and mobility in your legs, you're not going to be able to go as low as you'd like, and your body's going to try to compensate in other ways, namely in some cases leaning forward. What's one thing you wish you knew you started strength training, not counting your overemphasis on pressing? So this is from Khalif, Fat Guy Skinny Wallet. Check him out if you haven't seen him already. Good friend of mine. I would say just the fact that I neglected my lower body a lot. I was the type that thought squats were bad, they hurt me, and I blamed them for messing up my lower back when in reality it was just bad form on my part. And although my squat's pretty good these days, that's because I've really been focusing on it, and I think if I really spent my training career focusing on it, it could be even more impressive. So just overall working on everything. What's a good way to get a lot of calories without going overboard on protein? At Campbell Fitness, thanks. So I'm going to actually tie this into the whole question before about carbs. So carbs are a quick, easy way. They're a quick, easy source of energy, and they're an easy way to get calories in without really upping a lot of proteins and fats in most cases. Next question, about to start Wendler 531. How long should I stick with it? Again, going back to the training routine question that already came up, you should stick with it as long as you can, as long as you're seeing your goals, and as long as you're progressing. That's how long you should stick for it for. How are we doing on time? 7:52. We're doing good. How do you feel about the clean and press? Is it beneficial? I think it's an awesome lift. I can't do it. I don't think I've ever really tried to do it. I've done some cleans before, but throwing it together, I can't. My mobility in my shoulders just not that great right now, not to mention that it's just not in line with what I'm doing, but I think it's a very impressive lift, and if you're into Ollie lifting, obviously it's very important. Next question, self-image. How we see ourselves and how do you feel when you're leaner than usual? Regards from Germany, Brandon. So I think a lot of us that are in the workout mindset have some body dysmorphia. I know personally whenever I'm cutting, I feel really weak and skinny, but then as soon as I go on a bulk, I feel like I'm really fat. So I feel like no matter what I do, I can't really win, and I just got to tell myself that I'm being a little bit stupid about it, and I'm sure my girlfriend will be right in to chime in and agree with me. But it's just part of the thing. You got to realize that, you know, we probably hold ourselves to a lot higher regard than the people looking at us, so it's just a mental obstacle you need to get over. Next question. If you could only choose 3 exercises aside from squat, dead, bench to assist you, what would they be? I would probably say, from what I've really seen lately, straight leg deadlifts. I like those a lot. Probably bent over barbell rows. And I would say the other one would probably be another pulling movement, even something as simple as pull-ups, because I could do that anywhere. Next question, favorite film? Well, for a long time it was the movie Half Baked. I would probably say it's still one of my favorite movies, but I watch a lot of movies. A lot of movies. I watch a lot of TV, and I tend to retain a lot of that information, even though I might not see them multiple times. So it's tough for me to answer, but Half Baked was one that was always one of my favorite movies. It's one I've probably seen a couple 100 times. Next question, Campbell Fitness, will you ever compete in a bodybuilding competition? I would say 99% chance of no. It's just not something I'm interested in. I thought about it before when I first started this channel. I thought of it as a goal, but honestly, dieting and getting that lean isn't overall healthy, and that's really why I train most of the time, is to prolong my quality of life, and I don't think that really goes in line with that. Next questions, would you recommend the powerlifting route from a training perspective to someone who wants to be fit and strong but doesn't necessarily want to bench press as much as they possibly can? Probably not. The whole goal of powerlifting and the whole goal of a lot of training programs is to get stronger and or bigger, and with bigger comes stronger usually too. So I probably wouldn't. Probably P90X. And that's not necessarily a diss against P90X. Next question, what motivates you most to lift at Campbell Fitness? I would say what motivates me the most to lift is the fact that, again, as I already said, I look at it as improving my overall quality of life, and it's just something that I use now a lot of times too as a way to relieve stress. And plus, a lot of this videos and YouTube holds me accountable for stuff I do. I know I've made a lot of friends doing this, and it kind of all plays a role in that. Next question, muscle stretches for squat, deadlift, mobility. I have a couple of videos on this already. Really pushing out the knees, opening the hips, getting your hamstrings loose. I'm actually going to have a couple people be doing some sponsored videos on my channel regarding mobility work specifically, and I think you'll really be pleasantly surprised with it, so be on the lookout for that. Next question, any thoughts on visiting Boss Barbell? I would love to go to Boss Barbell. I would love to go to Super Training out in Sacramento. There's a lot of gyms I would like to go to, and every time I travel for work, it's something I try to do is hit up different gyms. I don't really necessarily know the next time I'll be out that way. I think Boss Barbell is in Mountain View, California, but I would love to go given the opportunity. Next questions. You are given one last workout. What body parts would you hit and why? I would probably do something similar to like a mock powerlifting meet, just because those are the lifts I enjoy most. So I'd squat, then I'd bench, then I'd deadlift. And maybe if I had time, I'd do some penis press. And you guys that have been watching me for a while, you know what exercise that is. Next question, who's better, Kobe Bryant or number 24 on the Lakers? I don't know. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? Story on tattoos? Yes, there's a story. Am I going to share it? Probably not. It's one of the questions I get asked the most, and it's probably one of the most asked questions I've had since I started my channel, and I've yet to answer that, so I'm going to keep holding out on you guys in that case. Your top 3 favorite YouTube lifters channels? It's tough to say. I watch so many, and I'm not saying that because I don't want to piss anybody off, but I watch them all. There's not someone that I don't watch that I'm subscribed to, so it's really tough to say. But I will say, because you also put channels, I like a lot of tech-related channels. So, like, for instance, one of you guys commented the other day on my review video from MKBHD, I'm sorry. Probably one of the most popular YouTube channels out there, but I really like his tech reviews and a lot of old-school video gaming channels as well, like the Game Chasers and stuff like that. Age, sex, location. I feel like I'm in an AOL chat room, so my age is 33, my sex is male. My location, outside your house. Outside your mom's house. Inside your mom. Sorry. How do you feel about full frontal male nudity? Well, I'm glad in this case you can't attach pictures because I'm not really too fond of it, to be honest. I did see the Full Monty in theaters, if that counts. Moving on. Story on your tattoos, any meanings? I'm going to kind of defer to my other question on this already, my other answer. Can high and low bar squats be incorporated in the same routine? If yes, what would be the best way to approach it on the same day or separate days? So it can be incorporated, and in fact, if you've been watching my training on BBSM, on my back squat days, which are typically each Monday, so if you look up any of my videos, it says BBSM, cycle whatever, week whatever, squats, you will see that I actually do low bar competition style squats before moving on to high bar, medium stance position, pause squats. So yes, you can, and I think it can be very effective. How do you feel an MMA fighter should lift weights? I think it really depends on what you're going for. In most cases, probably you're going to want some endurance. I would say a mix of both powerlifting and also some endurance style training. Prefer a female in thong, boy shorts, or maybe something boring like a pair of white cotton panties? Well, in my opinion, if you're seeing a female in any of those things, you're doing all right, so it shouldn't really matter. At what time to start taking creatine? Thanks. So as far as, I'm guessing this means your age, you can take it whenever. You can get it through food sources, technically. So I started, I believe, when I was 15, and when it was fairly new. It cost a hell of a lot of money. There's been a lot of improvements as far as the research that's available on it. There's no harm in taking it. What would you recommend for someone who has thinning hair that is under 30? So, if you guys haven't noticed, I don't have as much hair as I used to, and my hair started thinning when I was in my early 20s, as did my father's, as did my brother's. I mean, there's things you can try. There's Rogaine. There's also things like you get a prescription for finasteride or Propecia, something along those lines. And sometimes they might help. Sometimes they don't. What I'd recommend is just embracing it. And I actually have a video about creatine and hair loss where I kind of talk about some steps of acceptance. Golf or bowling. I've only actually been to play golf, like a full actual 18 holes once. And because my mobility and flexibility in my shoulders just isn't there, it's rough. I'm pretty nasty when it comes to mini golf. Bowling, not so much either, because I don't really go for form. I just go for the heaviest ball I can find and see how hard I can chuck it down the alley. So those are not my fortes in sports. Who's your favorite power lifter? Well, this question I'm going to defer to my coach currently. Is one of the reasons that I hired him, Dan Green. He's an awesome, awesome guy. Not to mention, he lifts a lot of weight. Next question, glutamine, good or bullshit? Glutamine is a waste. Do not buy it. I have a video on it if you're so interested. Story in your tattoos. Already talked about that. What camera are you using in the gym? I'm going to do a video on all the equipment that I use, but I do use my Canon T4i in the gym these days. I think for the past 4 months I have been using it. So a Canon T4i is the body of the camera, and I actually use these days a Sigma 1.4 f 30mm lens, which is very expensive. And hopefully this year I'm going to upgrade to a full frame camera and a little bit better lens, but we'll see how that goes. Next question. Hey Brandon, I know this isn't late, but could you please go over what your deadlift squat cues are? So the main two things that I think of on my deadlifts is just make sure that my hips don't shoot up. So for that, I really work on almost doing like a stiff-legged deadlift when I go down to grab the bar. That's what I really focus on. As far as squat goes, the main thing I've been focusing on these days is keeping my upper body really tight. So the cues is that I use is when I shove myself under the bar as much as I can. What I try to do first is get a very big breath, deep breath, really tighten my core. And also before I unrack, I try to get those elbows and I try to shove them under and almost pin them into my lats. And I found that that's really helped me. Next question. I know in late, but I don't give a shit. Your calves are pretty decent, yet has never seen calf work. Do you train them or are they just naturally big? Really? Really? What program will you be implementing after your meet? So my plan is I have this meet on Saturday. I'm then going to take somewhat of a deload week, and then I'm actually going to start another 10-week program with Dan. So I hired Dan again for another 10 weeks. During that week of deload, I'm going to do a video review for you guys on the program. Dan from Home Physique. So if you haven't checked out Dan, definitely check him out. Do you want to, or do you think you can break any records? I mean, I'd like to. Do I think I will? I don't think so, given my stature, meaning that for my height, my weight's not really a lot for most powerlifters. So there are some very tall powerlifters out there, but a lot of them compete in a lot heavier weight classes. So for me, being 6'4", and I'm going to be competing in the 242 class, I'm competing with a lot smaller people who are a lot more massive and can move a lot more weights. But that's not going to stop me from trying to just outdo myself continually. Next question. Could you follow me on Instagram so you could critique my squat, my deadlift and squat form? Yes, I can. I'll do that right now. As soon as I'm done with the video, I would do it on video, but then I'll probably lose my place in the questions. Tattoo stories, not right now. What kind of stretching exercises do you do after your workout, upper and lower body? I don't do any right now. I try to do a lot of my mobility work beforehand, and by the time I'm done with my programming and my workout, I'm just ready to leave. I probably should do some, but at this time I just don't do any. All right, so we're 18 minutes. We'll keep going through. The next thing, I don't know you lifted, question mark. So that's like a I'm Ron Burgundy, and I don't. But I've been thinking about trying it. I've seen a lot of guys do it on YouTube, and it looks like something I'd be interested in. So maybe one of these days I'll give it a shot. How do I speak to women? Next question. You've been asking a lot of questions. How do I speak to women? I suggest using your mouth. Campbell Fitness, best way to break bench press plateau. Anytime you're talking about plateaus, I kind of talked about this already on squats, but also look at, again, frequency and volume. Next question, if I drove up to Rhode Island, could you help me with my squat form? It's gone to complete shit recently, and I have a meet coming up in about a month and a half. I'm usually pretty more than open to working out with anybody that's willing to come my way. The only caveat is you'd have to kind of cater to me, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but I just got a lot of shit going on, so as long as you can work out a day and a time with me that works for me, Not a problem. Tim Curl again, why does it hurt when I pee? Probably because you touch yourself at night. Seinfeld quote is strong. That's not a question, but I appreciate it. So if you didn't know what that is, I said, yes, they're real and they're spectacular. That is from probably one of the greatest shows of all time, Seinfeld. Do you ever plan on doing a physique or bodybuilding show? Well, I could do a physique show because, as you guys probably noticed, I don't really have big legs, so I could hide them under a pair of board shorts and we'd be fine. Next question. What's a good split for someone who's been properly lifting for about a year doing bro splits? I wouldn't really say you could go wrong with doing starting strength again. You know, a full body 3 times per week, or even like a 5x5 type of deal like that. Also, Jason Fitness from Juggernaut Fitness TV now, formerly of Ice Cream Fitness. He has a great kind of novice program I think you would really like as well. Next question, are you going to the Arnold Classic? I don't think so. I would love to go, but it's really hard for me to justify a trip to Columbus right now. I don't have a ton of free time off of work for vacation, and when I do have that, kind of want to go somewhere nice and warm, not Columbus in the winter, but we'll see. Next question. I plan to do amateur strongman competitions. Do you have any things I could do? Check out my friend Endomorph Beast. You guys probably seen him. He's been on this channel before. He's training for Elliot Hulse's strongman competition, and he's really actually made a lot of his own stuff to bring to the gym, so check that out. You might be interested in that. Next question. Why are you so awesome, Brandon? Did you know you're my hero? So this goes out to Rodrigo, who for a long time, me and Brian Nielsen from Nerd Fight Club, another plug right there, have been calling you Roger, which means you need to get a new microphone on your videos because I can't hear shit, and I could have sworn you were saying Roger. Tracking macros in foreign countries, it's tough to do if they don't have the actual labels on it, but do your best, try to eyeball it. Hopefully it's not long term. If it is, you can probably find something similar online with similar macros. You're just going to have to guesstimate a bit. Who would win in a fight between you and Michael Corey? I heard that dude fights dirty. Well, since me and Michael Corey are BFFs, in case you guys didn't know, we would never come to blows, and if we did, I wouldn't bet on him. Mr. Campbell, what's the best way to get rid of bitch tits naturally without going through surgery? So I'm assuming we're just talking about fatty deposits here, and we're not talking about actually gynecomastia, but in that case, it's just a good diet as well as getting sure that chest is up. I mean, maybe check out Louis Marco, you know, on the Daily Baby. Not so serious. But yeah, build muscle, lose fat. Not at the same time probably, but those are 2 simple ways. Mr. Campbell, what's the best way to get rid of bitch? I just wanted to talk about bitch tits again, I guess. Best way to increase weight in squats. I've answered this already. Again, frequency, volume, and just progression. Some of these questions, would you consider going to bodybuilding? No. We beat the Arnold Classic. I don't think so. Is it true if I kill you, I will become you? Only if you drink my blood. That's kind of how it works. Simon from Aesthetics, do you get all your gains from shake weight superset with body weight squats? Yes and no. Shake weight and body weight squats are the way to go, but you can't discount the Thigh Master or doing lots of Tae Bo. Short one, how should I tie my Chuck Taylors and what socks should be used for a deadlift? Tie them any way you feel comfortable. Some people lace them all the way up. Some don't lace them all the way up. You can use any socks for deadlift that are longer. I use a lot of soccer socks if need be. Just whatever covers your shins. Are there any books you recommend both in fitness and health in general? I like to read a lot of programming books. 531 was a great read. The Cube was a great read. Starting Strength's a great read. There's lots of good reads out there. Why does protein powder give me so much gas? Video, please. A lot of people have lactose issues, and protein is just pretty much the cause of that. Next question, why is Instabra so cute? Not too much homo. As I already mentioned, because he looks like a 12-year-old boy. I know a lot of you guys have fantasies about that. Cute little guy. How do we get a cool haircut like yours? Well, hopefully in your family you have a lot of male pattern baldness, and then you just get some clippers and cut it really short. Just ask LeBron James. Now that you've finished BBSM, what's your move on to the next? So again, I'm going to do another cycle. Eating on a surplus on training days and deficit on rest days, attempting to recomp thoughts. It can happen. It's just recomping is very hard, very long process, and you have to be very patient, and you might see better results if you kind of choose to do one or the other. And the last question, have you ever had tendonitis in your elbows, and what did you do to look after or cure it? I haven't. I mean, I've had some pains and aches here and there, but it's usually because I was doing something wrong, or my frequency or volume was just all out of whack, or maybe it was something with my nutrition. So if you have pain or tendonitis, it might be a cue to kind of take a step back and kind of readdress things. So that's all the questions that I had. I went through 90 comments. Some of these were a little bit redundant, so if I didn't get to yours specifically or you didn't know if I read yours, I did see it. I will try to do these every couple of weeks only because we did 25 minutes here, and a lot of this is just me having verbal diarrhea, getting nervous reading on film because my University of Rhode Island education did not teach me how to be literate. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll have some videos for you coming up of the meet this weekend, hopefully. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.